Hello, and welcome back to 3 Simple Shifts to Wake Your Power Within. This is Letitia Harris. I am a business and mindset mentor, and I'm here to share with you some exciting and enlightening information that can help you move forward in your life in achieving your hopes and your dreams. The second shift that needs to be made in order to wake your inner power is to unlearn your past. The shift requires excavating, meaning bulldozing over the weeds, which are comparable to obstacles in your mind that have hindered you in order to create fertile ground for new thoughts to grow. You, like a farmer, are preparing the ground of your mind for new seeds that will bring forth a bountiful harvest, a new result that you want. You might be thinking, unlearn my past. Letitia, so how do I do that? I'm so glad you asked. It's not your fault. Where you are today in your life is not your fault. Most of the failures that have happened or are happening is not because of something that you have done. Let me explain a little bit more of what I mean. Now, some of you are about to hear what I am sharing for the first time, so all I ask is for you to keep an open mind for learning and observation purposes. Now, by me saying it's not your fault, I'm going to share with you what the predecessor is that could have possibly caused you to be at the place that you are today. Let's go deeper. While you were growing up, you were conditioned through all sorts of conversations going on around you. Unlearning your past is basically composed of unlearning the bad habits, the fears, the unforgettable moments, or bad labels people placed on you, or failures that you've had in general. Conversations from the past are like old movies or songs that continue to play over and over again in your head, with or without your permission, I might add. But you must recognize that these things no longer have a place in your life for where you're now headed. It should no longer be holding you back. Take a look at some of the things that I'll share with you that will show you some of the conversations from the past. You see, the people around you as a child didn't know their actions and their words would either hinder or help your future. Here's an example. Do any of these conversations look familiar or sound familiar to you? She'll never be pretty enough for the cheerleading team. Or he doesn't realize he's not smart enough to be class president. This affects your self-confidence as compared to others. How about, it's your fault we never have any money or enough money? This is something you might have heard from your parents. So this is going to play a part of your self-confidence when it comes to you handling money in the future. Who do you think suffered the most here? Was it the people that were having or saying the things, or was it you? Maybe these conversations continue to play out in your head, or you may have your own past conversations that you can recall. But whatever they are, if they're negative, they can continue to block your power within. Let me show you how these types of thoughts enter your mind and how to start working on stopping any future negative ones. I was first introduced to this model by Bob Proctor as a consultant with the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and I want to share this concept with you. It really helped me to get a visual image of what was going on inside my mind as a youth. This was originally, though, created by the late Dr. Thurman Fleet, right here in good old Texas, in the city of San Antonio in 1934. He was the founder of concept theory. He believed that any external illness you had came from something that was going on inside the mind. Sounds like he was on the cutting edge, right, of holistic healing, huh? He said that no one has seen the mind because it is an activity that takes place in the brain. which operates the body. Therefore, I am using it today to show you that when you were born, you came into this world with a wide open mind, an empty mind, you might say, waiting to be filled. This is the woo-woo part of you. You know, that part we talked about, and that spiritual part of you that I mentioned in part 1 of this 3-part series. So if you haven't seen part 1, then I'd ask you to stop it and go back to part 1 and come back to part 2. Here, you naturally believe in this state of mind, in your subconscious state of mind, that anything is possible, simply because you couldn't think for yourself at the time. Let's talk about the early stages of life. Your subconscious mind has no ability to accept or reject any thought that reaches it. It has no limitations, as I mentioned. Will take over and take you into an autopilot state. Isn't that wonderful? It keeps you from doing those mundane things like tying your shoes, going to the bathroom, putting on your clothes, brushing your teeth. It takes over and takes those little tasks and not bog you down with thinking about how to do it, and it puts you into an autopilot state. In this also subconscious mind, you can take thoughts and they can be recalled, or they can be withdrawn or overwritten by new thoughts that come into your mind. But remember, at this stage of life, you have no memory, so there's nothing to recall. Now, let me share with you that this is the perfect image of the spiritual side of you. Remember, I told you in the beginning, you are a spiritual being. You live in a body and you contain an intellect, which is your mind. Your spiritual DNA is perfect and it needs no improvements. This part of you gets buried under the garbage of thoughts that enter our mind on an everyday basis. So deep down, besides all of that imperfections, that's the things that you feel bad about, the self-image you have, beneath all of that, there is a perfect person, a perfect spiritual being. So the whole point is to get below all of that stuff that has affected you and stopped you and blocked you to the pureness of who you are, where your power is. It's drilling down to that place that makes you who you already are, that you desire to be. As a child, you were open to anything that happened around you. In the meantime, you were exposed also to the conversations and actions of those around you, whether it was good or bad. Your mind's function at this point was to learn all it could in order to be a functional human being. The subconscious mind at this time didn't have any reference points to stop any dangerous or harmful thoughts from entering your mind. So it's taking in everything it can. You didn't ask for the majority of the things you were introduced to at your younger age, while you were still very, very, very impressionable. Remember, I told you it isn't or wasn't your fault? Are you starting to see why now? At the various stages of life, you are receiving the thoughts, the ideas, and the images from the TV, radio, conversations, your school, university, friends, teachers, and any other adults. At this stage, you have no control over your life as you're growing. You are susceptible to your environment. At a certain point in your life, you will start to realize you can think on your own. As you get older, at the age of 6, like I mentioned, genetic doctors have said, all the way through the remainder of your life, you are using what you have been told or what you have observed or experienced to make your decisions, which is called forming a paradigm. A paradigm is a multitude of habits. A habit is an idea that is fixed in the subconscious mind that causes you to do something without any conscious thought. That means that if someone says to you, "Why do you do that?" or "Why do you act like that?" You might say, you know what? I don't know. It could be a habit that you observed an adult or a parent or a loved one do, and now you're picking up and doing that same thing without even knowing why you do it. At a certain point, you become conscious of your surroundings and your ability to make your own decisions based off of your five sensory perceptions called see, smell, hear, taste, and touch, which have been developed over the years. Now, these five sensors are helping to form your view of life, your perception. That's why no two people see the world in the same light. This is why you see the world the way that you do, and you handle your business and affairs the way that you do, rather than seeing it like someone else. Now, your conscious mind is known as the gatekeeper. The conscious mind takes in new information through your five senses from various sources, as we talked about before, and decides what information you are considered keeping by passing it to your subconscious mind. Whatever gets past it, the conscious mind, and goes down into the subconscious mind will become a part of your internal filing system for future use. You know, times where you're like, I can't remember my parents' phone number or a friend's phone number. But once you pick up that phone and you start to dial it, you're like, that's what it is. But you may be like me, where everybody's phone number is programmed into the phone, and I couldn't remember if I wanted to because it's listed under their name. I just hit a button. But most commonly, you will have things that you can't recall, but if you put yourself back in that situation or back in that past time where you were standing in front of them, you can remember, oh yeah, now I remember it was this, that, or the other. That's you going into the subconscious mind, that internal filing system, and bringing back up that information that was stored there for a later time. Or your subconscious mind will exit that thought or idea for non-acceptance or belief at this time. But that doesn't mean that you won't consider it later. Because if you hear someone else say that something is true for the second, third, or fourth time, then you might decide at that time to accept it and have it drop in your subconscious mind for later use. Now let's talk a little bit about self-image. As time goes on, you either start validating the self-image that has been created in your subconscious mind through your old way of thinking, or by the experiences that have occurred that you have decided to believe about yourself. The self-image that you hold in your mind is how your body will carry out your actions for the world to see. Now, at some point in your life, you've probably said to yourself that I don't like the way I act or that I show up in large crowds. This could be a confidence issue, but you know that it's there, you don't like it, and you want it to be better. Now, it could be that you have this self-image of you can never have enough money to be able to do real estate investing if that's what you want, or to start a business. This is all boiling down to the self-image that has been created in the subconscious mind. You're always going back to that automatic pilot. Remember I said the paradigm? This paradigm is the old way of thinking and an old habit that you've come to perfect over the years. Now, the reason why you show up without confidence more than likely stems from something that has happened in your past that has hit you so hard that has caused that pain and hurt to be captured in your subconscious mind. Now, at some point, as I mentioned, you can do a different thing called conditioning of the mind and change this. There are two ways that you can do this. I can go into this and spend a whole lot of time right here, but I don't want to make this video too long. But let me share with you two ways that you can actually reprogram your mind and get that old way of thinking out of there. Now, remember, it takes a certain amount of time in order for a habit to form. Remember, you're taking that old way of thinking in the subconscious mind, which is an old habit, and now you're trying to turn it into, now I'm very confident. Think about it. That's not going to happen overnight. So in this case, there's two ways. Number one, through repetition of thought. With repetition of thought, all it is taking information and repeating it over and over again until it replaces that old way of thinking. Now, repeating it, you might think instantly affirmations. Yes, affirmations do work, but the only thing I found out is affirmations, they don't work if it doesn't get to your heart and you believe the affirmations you're saying, because you can literally be stuck in your conscious mind and saying, I am wealthy. I have the most loving spouse, and you're not married yet. Take those affirmations and take them to heart, and those affirmations will make a difference. Now, you can take books. You can read up on books on confidence. You can read up on books on money management, or you can have CDs, or you can watch television programs, or you can have a mentor. Whatever way that you have to repeat that same information or habit that you want to change, that topic or subject, then that's going to eventually replace that old way of thinking with now the new perfect habit that you want to have in that area of your life. Now, the second way to overcome a paradigm is through an emotional impact. Now, what I mean by that is something has to hit you, bam, so hard, like a Mack truck hitting a little Volkswagen, and I'm picture that with nobody in it. It's a parked car. But it's being hit so hard that you have to change. Now, one way is that you might go through such a devastating divorce that you have been left without employment because you were a stay-at-home mom. Or it could be that you didn't have any financial savviness because your spouse took care of all of the money management in the household, whether you're male or female. So there are many things that can happen to you. Coming to mind right now is 9/11. The people that were involved in 9/11, meaning the family members, that means that when that person died in that most tragic event that changed the world, if they did not believe in life insurance before that particular day, you best believe that emotional impact is now been transformed because they believe in it. If that person or loved one or that breadwinner was in that tragic incident and they did not live, that person is probably left struggling trying to figure out what can be done. So this is not a plug for any particular life insurance, but that changed my life. As an entrepreneur, when I first started out going from corporate and going into entrepreneurship, it's a very scary world when it comes to money. But if anything happens to you because you're working day and night and you're stressing and you're working hard, then you want to be able to leave something for your family that does not leave that burden on them. All right, so enough about that. Let's go ahead and move on. Now, I want you to think for a moment. Are you starting to see a pattern here? Are you starting to understand what went well and what may have gone wrong in your life and what may need correcting? Although someone else was at fault in what happened in certain parts of your life, but it is your responsibility to make those things right. Now that you know, it's time for you, not them, to make things right. You have within you the power to change any and everything that you are not happy and satisfied with that happened to you in your past. You no longer have to live basically as a victim. You have the power within you to change and morph into anyone you want to, like Clark Kent to Superman, or Linda Carter that morphed into Wonder Woman. You have these superpowers within you. So I ask you and invite you back to part 3, where we'll take a look into visualization that can help you move beyond the points we've discussed into actually seeing the things you want happen in your life. God bless and thank you.